So I think what we need to do right now, folks, is we need to go through some topics that I feel should take priority over others due to the time period we are living in, or should I say the season we are living in. What takes priority are the topics that relate to our changing solar system, planet, and biology. At this point, most people should have a pretty good understanding of what Planet X is. Even if you don't believe that it's out there or something of the sort, which is foolish, most of us know what someone is talking about when they are discussing Planet X, or Nibiru, or the Destroyer, Nemesis, Wormwood. There are several names, right? So, if we do consider this object's existence, would it not make sense to learn as much as we can right now so that we can properly prepare for what it is going to do? Remember, you don't have to be able to see something in order for it to exist or for it to affect you. Every major body in our solar system, the positioning of the planets, each of these are like a component of a massive machine. If one of these or several of these components are changed, then of course that affects the whole machine. There is a certain balance within our solar system that we have been living with for a very long time, but the balance has shifted. Now, unfortunately, I'm sorry, but we are going to have to go through some things in the coming years. And really the best thing we can do is to start working on our health. We all need to be in tip-top shape for what we are about to endure, because what's happening will not stop, not anytime soon. There is a buildup that is going to continue, and this large body in space is only part of the action out there. Everything out there is happening in tandem, so it is quite difficult to organize all this in your head. But that's why we're here, to sort this out. Are we in fact dealing with a second star? The twin of our soul? So here's the real problem with all of this. You see, we have a name or names for something that we have not yet observed, although you do not have to necessarily observe something like a virus in order to know that it is there. We have all this information on an object in space, photos. You don't have enough time in your life to look at all the Planet X photos that are out there. Not to mention the number of videos that are out there. We have ancient accounts of this object. Depending on the culture, it of course would be given various names, or they could be referring to another object entirely. We can assume that what the Sumerians are describing is the same object as the Destroyer. We can't assume that it is the same object as Wormwood, or that it is Planet 9 that NASA claims is out there. Because I think there is something we need to understand about this object, and this is where I think people are getting confused. When you have an object in space that is, let's say, 10 times the size of Earth, since that is a common theory, we don't know the object in question's exact size, but we'll go with that which is about the size of Jupiter. This is a massive object, okay, with a lot of mass, which means its gravitational pull is also massive. If we do in fact live in a binary system, which is not too far-fetched, then this second star, brown dwarf, Nibiru, the object in question, you can bet is not coming alone. Let me give you an idea of what I'm talking about. Jupiter is apparently responsible for keeping the asteroid belt in check. Now that is an extremely powerful gravitational pull. Jupiter also has 79 moons. I mean, think about this for a moment. If the object in question is real, and it has the orbit that we think it has, then it comes in close to us, it loops around the sun, and then travels way, way back out there before it slows down and loops around to come back. Some suggest that this is around a 3,600-year trip. Within that amount of time, what other objects has this thing collected along the way? So what do you think would happen if we were to have a miniature star system with all its little planets and moons and asteroid debris coming close to us and revolve around our sun? Now, most star systems are binary, about 85%. Now, how did we end up in the 15% that are not binary systems? And some of these star systems have 3 or more stars. Now, with that in mind, how many of you know something about vampire stars? I mean, the name tells you about everything you need to know. See, what tends to happen with these companion stars is, once the weaker star gets close enough to the larger, brighter star, it feeds off of it, collecting material from that star. The brighter star shrinks and becomes weaker as the other star gets brighter and larger. Pretty cool, right? Wrong. If we live in a binary system and that happens to our sun, I don't know if you all know this, but that is a problem. That is one of the main concerns with the object in question, because if it gets close enough, in theory, it should get larger and brighter as our sun dims and shrinks. So I do believe in the possibility of seeing 2 suns in the sky that are about the same size from our perspective. Although, you may want to be in another star system once that happens. And hopefully we don't get caught in between these 2 stars if that happens. On top of all of this, folks, we have another problem. And that is the cosmic ray pulses that are coming from deep space. Not from Planet X, but from deep space. And these particles are going into the Earth, heating it up from the inside. The pressure is building, and the Earth is not venting efficiently enough to relieve this building pressure. You see, I know that there are those who think that a lot of what is happening right now on our planet is due to man, pollution. They think it's HAARP, they think it's CERN, they think it's chemtrails, and some people actually believe that it's carbon. My gosh. Yes, I understand that governments around the world have had a hand in some of the things that occur that have had a negative impact on the environment. Of what they have control over, they don't have control over this. They can't stop it, and soon they will no longer be able to hide it. Let me turn you guys onto something here, and this is key. This is critical because I really don't think enough people grasp the idea of how important this is. And that is fireballs. And when I tell you this, I truly hope that you will be able to get a better understanding of where we are at in this day and age. We can no longer ignore the skies. So about 3 weeks ago or so, more specifically July 24th, Wednesday, actually the 23rd and 24th, we had 3, count them, 3 NEOs, or near-Earth objects, fly past us, 2 of which were about the size of the Great Pyramid. Now let me re-emphasize this point. When you have massive asteroids in space traveling thousands of miles per hour, more often than not, they are traveling with friends. And these objects came so close that a few of their friends made it to Earth. There were multiple fireball sightings in the course of 2 days over Connecticut, one over Ontario. Earlier last month, there was a grand sighting in Florida, but that was neither a UFO or a meteor. It was just space junk. Doesn't matter. And here is the thing. We have been getting light shows all year. fireballs being witnessed by hundreds of people at each event. Back in January, the AMS, American Meteor Society, took in 575 reports of a fireball over the East Coast. January 26, there was a bright fireball reported flying over Spain. On February 1st, a meteorite exploded over Cuba, giving off a sonic boom. The explosion was equivalent to 1.4 kilotons of TNT. On Thursday, February 7th, over 100 reports of a bright fireball over Colorado. February 12th, there was a bright fireball over Central Florida. February 14th, one was sighted flying over Cornwall with what was reported to be red flames spewing off of it. February 15th, one flew over Belgium in the Netherlands. Thousands witnessed that one. March 16th, St. Louis, another fireball sighting. March 22nd, there was a fireball streaking across the sky over Florida. March 28th, there were 260 reports of a bright fireball over New York. On March 29th, over 300 people saw a fireball streaking over Tennessee. March 30th, there were 250 reports of another fireball flying over Florida. On April 3rd, a fireball was sighted over New Mexico. On April 4th, a fireball was spotted over North Carolina. April 6th, a large fireball was reported over Siberia, the third major fireball over there in the past 4 months. April 11th, a bright fireball was sighted over Texas. On April 12th, a fireball lit up the sky in Brazil. April 16th, 60 reports of a fireball over Germany and 3 other countries. And on that same night, another 400 reports of a fireball over the eastern United States from 9 states. Okay, April 23rd, one came flying over Costa Rica. Shall I keep going? Yes, let's. May 10th, there was a bright one over Indiana. May 11th, there was a fireball over Michigan. On May 19th, one fireball ended up over Alice Springs in Australia. On May 20th, a fireball flew over northern Australia, and 2 days later, another one flew over southern Australia and Victoria. June 6th, a fireball over Brazil. This, of course, picked back up in July, so here we are in August. We've had one spotted over Iowa on the 9th, as well as one crashing off the East Coast on the 9th. And these are all significant news reports, folks. Now, does all this seem normal to you? I mean, maybe there are some astronomers out there that can tell me yes. Whenever we have these meteor showers, we get fireballs in the lower atmosphere. No big deal. And everyone who knows anything about this stuff admits there's been a spike in the number of bolides, green and red fireballs. And the authorities keep linking this to the 30 different meteor showers we get each year. And they all of a sudden want to start throwing fireballs at us. Now, how many of you believe that these fireballs are debris from these meteor showers, when we've just had 3 NEOs accompanied by reportedly large bright fireballs, one of which they wrote off as space junk? So that is what's going on with fireballs as of late. Now, I want everyone to understand something. When you have an excess of cosmic particles entering into the Earth, not only does the Earth heat up from the inside, but it is also emitting radiation from the inside. Gamma rays and other radiation is being emitted from the planet. The density of space right now with all the cosmic dust, which may also be the result of supernova or magnetar or magnetars, a dozen of which we know of that are close by, you have what could be a second star making its way around our sun, affecting the entire solar system. The Earth, the Sun, and all the other planets are showing symptoms of these things being in place. And these are the games that certain organizations play with people. It's all a bunch of googly glop to confuse the fun out of you. What more than a better time than in the last decade or so to start finding all these other objects out there, as we have this Planet X hype, right? Folks, physics, these standard models that are used are changing. Physics is changing, and those equations that have been established, constants, are now variables. And most of it has to do with where we are in the Milky Way galaxy in relationship to space dust and these star explosions, along with what may be a mini constellation within range. You all know darn well the sun is not what it used to be. Now again, I want to re-emphasize this. Most star systems are either binary or triple or quadruple. And so the question remains is what we know as Planet X, is it actually the sun's companion? How many of you remember the story of HD 186302? Huh? What? Yeah. I don't expect any of you to remember such a name. And I don't think NASA or anybody else wants you to remember that name either. Why? Because it is a recently discovered star that is almost identical to the sun. Not only that, astronomers believe that HD 186302 is the sun's long-lost sibling. Before I get into the details about this, how many of you know how far 1 light year away is? 5.88 trillion miles. This particular star is 184 light years from the sun. Now, there are at least 52 other stars that are much closer, the closest being Alpha Centauri A, which is about 4.3 light years away. Alpha Centauri A and Alpha Centauri B are a binary pair, and the distance between them is just a bit further than the distance between the sun and Uranus. So, binary stars can get pretty close. So what is the significance about HD 186302 that would have astronomers believing that this could be the sun's twin at a distance of 184 light years? Well, let's take a look. Astronomers may have just discovered our sun's long-lost identical twin. In this article it reads, most stars are born in groups that can number in the thousands, in what are known as stellar nurseries. Tremendously vast clouds of gas and dust, pushed into clumps that gradually collapse under their own weight, forming the very first stages of stars. The sun's life is thought to have started this way, 4.57 billion years ago. Eventually, the stars get flung out on their own into the galaxy, but most of them have at least one other companion. It's estimated up to 85% of all stars could be in binary pairs, or even triple or quadruple systems, and over 50% of all sun-like stars are in binary pairs. Our sun is a solitary star, all on its own, which makes it something of an oddball. But there's evidence to suggest that it did have a binary twin once upon a time. Recent research suggests that most, if not all, stars are born with a binary twin. The article goes on to state, it's a G-type main sequence star, just a teeny tiny smidge bigger than the sun, and around about the same surface temperature and luminosity. It also has extremely similar chemical abundances and is around the same age, about 4.5 billion years old. It's an even closer match than F-type star HD 162826, identified as a stellar sibling in 2014. We don't actually know where the sun was born, so every stellar sibling identified is another clue to unraveling our solar system's history. So, ladies and gentlemen, what this shows us is that the sun having a companion is more likely than the sun not having a companion. What they are saying is they just have not found the star that would be close enough for us to drop the sun's solitary title. And please, Do not be fooled by these distances and ages they give us for these astral bodies, because they are estimations. And one of the ways they can tell how far away a star is by the time it takes for that star's light to get to us. And the problem with that is most people think that light travels at one speed. But what if I told you that light can be slowed down? Yes, in a vacuum, if there is nothing to get in the way of photon particles, then they should travel the speed of light, but space is filled with cosmic dust and other particles that these photons could run into. So do we factor that into the equation of light travel? Or do we just ignore it and believe that these distances are set in a galaxy that is in a spiral motion, with billions of objects perturbing one another? So one of the questions I am left with is, do we really need to see Planet X for it to exist? Or can we just look at the symptoms of a star system when there is a star's companion present or nearby? Folks, this past July was the hottest month on record since we've been keeping records in 1880. The hottest month on record. This has been the trend for the past few years. It's getting hotter every summer, and the winters, that means this winter is not going to be fun. It's the moisture along with the pressure of the atmosphere. The more I look into this, the more I want to put my money on this planet being the sun's companion, the second star of the solar system. A brown dwarf, perhaps. The more information I get on this, the more I will report on it. Until then, stay tuned for more truth that is stranger than fiction.